Deal. Romania leads right now in this tri-meet. We'll start things off with Orzata. He's been a familiar figure on a lot of these United States international meets. He's 24 years old. And the men, by the way, train in Bucharest as opposed to Deva, where the women train.
He's actually acted as our English translator for the entire team as well.
In a little bit of trouble right off the bat here. Kind of holds on somehow. And it all just caught up with him right there.
Again, we have to remember that for many of these athletes at this competition, this is their very first event of the year and the very first time at working the new code of points.
And it all depends on what you used to do. There's no way to know if your gymnastics from the former code is going to work in the new code. For some athletes, like we just saw Dragulescu on floor, he really didn't have to make that many changes, but Orzata had to make a lot.
And he's paying for it.
And he is. This guy, he is not a slacker in gymnastics. No question about it. He was 11th at the Olympic Games in the all-around. One of the most improved gymnasts at those entire games, but just not ready to deal with the code right now.
Tim, let me float something. Surfing on the beach, gymnastics. Surfing on the beach,
well, especially
gymnastics.
He did say it was going to be tough to get in more workouts than they're usually used to.
Yeah, he told me they're taking away from my beach time. Maybe he should have spent one more rotation on Pommel horse.
To the United States, where Brent McClure has already put up an 8.55 on the still rings. This is guard Young. He is not competing in all 6 of the rotations. He'll get a couple of opportunities, so these are big shots for him.
Saw guard walking on the beach with his wife the other morning. Actually, the new code of points isn't bad for him on rings. He struggled last time around, but because he can do a fairly good cross position, he's able to capitalize on that a little bit.
I think we should point out again this code of points. It means you have a start value. All your skills are added up to a score. Let's say 9.6, 9.7. The best gymnasts are at 10. That is the maximum score you could achieve if you did everything perfectly.
Right, and on top of that, you have all kinds of deductions if you don't hold positions or show proper positions on still rings.
Hey, he'll take that one.
Now, this is going to be an interesting score because he actually does have a very difficult routine, but some of the strength parts were very questionable, whether or not he held them long enough and whether or not they were accurate enough.
Yikes.
Orzata, he's got to be, I think this is sort of an embarrassed giggle, right, with a score under 7?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he probably hasn't had a 6 in gymnastics since he was probably around 6 years old, and that's probably not an exaggeration.
23-year-old Ioan Suciu.
Now, he actually looked like he had a better grip on Pommel horse with the new rules. One of the Romanians that it looked a little more natural for. Now watch, he'll start spinning around. This is called a Russian element. A lot of value in the new code. Dealt with it very well.
Now remember, they'd like to drop that 6.95.
They'd like to drop it? They'd love to drop it. They have to drop it.
Unbelievable. Now, he was actually doing a great exercise, had gotten through most of the very critical parts.
I remember last year in Syracuse, New York, where the team championships took place, the Romanians were so psyched to beat the Americans for the very first time.
Oh, and that's another skill you're going to see a lot here, and you might see it turn out just that way. Totally blown routine right there. He was supposed to fly up to a handstand. I don't even know if they'll call that a dismount right there.
This is a disaster in progress for the Romanians now.
New requirement on Pommel horse, you have to do a B-valued scissor type element. And we'll see a lot of gymnasts do that one that he just did, and they've been struggling since they've been here.
9.4 today is a great score for guard Young.
Yeah, that's a big number right there.
We stick with the United States.
Next on rings, Paul Hamm, USA.
Paul Hamm got an 8.75 on the Pommel horse. How do you like him on the rings, Tim?
Well, he's a very good gymnast, and he's actually quite strong, but with this code of points, not yet at the level that he needs to get a giant score. These are new elements for him, though, and he does them quite well.
You know, that's what's so remarkable about the Hamm brothers is that they have not worked the new code of points yet. This is the first time that we're seeing them with the new code, and yet they're really not making mistakes. They're coming out and they're performing.
That skill right there, if they call that a straight body, it's worth 2 extra tenths. Step on the landing right there. He's going to get there. He's going to get there. But right now, that routine starts out at a maximum of a 9.6 because he doesn't have enough of the major strength elements right there. If they call that skill laid out, he gets 2 tenths bonus. He was a little bit bent in his hips. They might call it a pike. And if they do that, he'll only get 1 tenth.
Score for Paul Hamm on the rings for USA.
Paul Hamm gets a 9.25, so better than he started on the pommel horse. Now, here in Hawaii, surfing is different than gymnastics. In surfing, if you don't like the apparatus you're on, you just get off. Center, Honolulu, Hawaii. Al Troutwig, Tim Daggett, American gold medalist. Elfie Schlegel and Beth Ruyak. This is Zhao Zhe. He had a 9.3 on the rings for China. It's going to be fascinating to see how the Romanian men recover from the disaster that they incurred on pommel horse.
Watch this mount here. Double twisting, double somersault. In a laid out position. Not to get too technical on you folks, but that is valued at a super E. And to get even more technical, a super E on floor exercise, it gives him 4 tenths of a point added on. You need 1.2 in bonus to start.
All right, now you're getting
from
carried away.
10.0.
E is the toughest, right?
Well, E is usually the toughest, but super E's are worth a little bit more, and on floor they're worth, like I said, 4 tenths. Now this guy, he has a twin brother, as another famous twin pair. They come from the same hometown, is Li Xiaoshuang and Dao Shuang. Li Xiaoshuang, of course, the 1996 all-around champion in gymnastics. But 2000 was really what the Chinese look at as their major accomplishment. They'd won a lot of titles, never the team title at an Olympic Games.
They, in fact, said that they've still been celebrating since that Olympic gold medal.
And they really were so exuberant and open with their emotions in Sydney, Australia. It was great to watch the Chinese men achieve what they achieved. None of those Olympic members are here, by the way. This is the next group, the new generation. Back to the Americans. Now, Elfie, have you uncovered the secret, the difference between the Hamm twins? What's the way you tell Morgan from Paul exactly?
I actually, still to this day, I look at them very closely and just direct questions to both of them.
You go with the Mr. Hamm method,
Yes,
right?
I do.
They told us their new celebrity is kind of fun. Walking down the halls of Waukesha High School one of the first days, they heard, hey, there are those whatchamacallit guys.
Actually, their high school watched the preliminaries of the Olympic Games at the school. That's the court.
Morgan actually a little bit stronger physically than his brother, just a little bit, and that helps dramatically on the rings. Double laid out somersault.
I was going to say, one thing that both these young athletes have is presentation, style, polish. They already have that ingrained. It's just now working on the new code and the more difficult elements.
Hey, you know what he did? He stuck the landing. You know, I mean, in Sydney, that was such a big deal. The gymnasts who didn't take that extra step, they were the ones who achieved medal greatness.
That's for sure. It is part of the game. Last thing the judge sees, tell my gymnast the most important thing, you gotta finish strong.
Score on the skill rings for USA's Morgan Hamm.
Morgan Hamm, 9.25. The tally for Zhao Zhe, 9.25. He's digging it. And now we get to the recovery of the Romanian.